We're back. Another chapter. Now, I forget what the last chapter I read was, but it was a while back here. The roof? Was that it? Archmasonry? We're on the material. Chapter 20. The material of ornament. Okay, now what he means when he says material, I've read the first couple paragraphs. What he means when he says material, he doesn't mean like what it's going to be made out of. Or maybe he would say it. But like not the type of stone it's going to be made out of, or the type of wood, or whether it should be made of stone or wood or like gold. He's not going to be talking about that. When he says material, he means like what is the decoration going to be of? Is it going to be of like battles? Is it going to be of pretty people? Is it going to be of famous religious figures? Like what are we going to turn into ornament? Or what is the ornament part of it going to be? Not the material. Oh god. Whatever. Who gives a shit? We enter now on the second division of our subject. That's why I decided to read this one. This was all, I think this was intro, and then this was all teaching me about buildings, and now we're to the next part. We have no more to do with heavy stones and hard lines. We are going to be happy to look round in the world and discover, in a serious manner always, however, and under a sense of responsibility, what we like best in the world, and to enjoy the same, so to enjoy what we like best in our world, at our leisure, to gather it, to examine it, and to fasten all we can of it into imperishable forms, and put it where we may see it forever. So that's how Ruskin defines the concept of ornamentation. That's how he describes it to a fellow human being that he's writing to. Us. He's writing it to us. We have no more to do with heavy stones and hard lines. We are going to be happy to look round in the world and discover, in a serious manner always, however, and with a sense and under a sense of responsibility, what we like best in it, and to enjoy the same at our leisure, to gather it, examine it, fasten all we can of it into imperishable forms, and put it where we may see it forever. This is to decorate architecture. That's what it is big. That's its own paragraph. Can we get there? This is to decorate architecture. There are, therefore, 3 steps in the process. First, to find out in a grave manner what we like best. Secondly, to put as much of it as we can, which is little enough, into form. Thirdly, to put this formed abstraction into a proper place. And we have now, therefore, to make these 3 inquiries in succession. First, what we like, or what is the right material of ornament. That's the first inquiry. He said it before, to find out in a grave manner what we like best. And he's saying that's the first one. He repeats, what we like, or what is the right material of ornament. Then, how we are to represent it, or its right treatment. So like if we're representing something like an angel, how do we do that? Do we give her huge tits? Ruskin would say, maybe. I don't know. That's a tough one. Then how are we to represent it, or its right treatment? Then where we are to put it, or its right place. I think I can answer that first inquiry in this chapter. The first inquiry being, what do we like? That's what we're going to answer in this this chapter is going to be insane. If this chapter is what do we like, it's going to be bananas. Where are we? I think I can answer that first inquiry in this chapter, the second inquiry in the next chapter, and the third I shall answer in a more diffuse manner. By taking up in succession the several parts of architecture above distinguished. So he's going to go in succession now on how to decorate the base of the wall, and then the wall, and then the doors in the wall, and then the archway possible replacement of wall, and then the cornice, and then the capital, and then the roof cornice, and then the roof. Are we going to go through the list again, bruh? I don't mind. That's where we're trying to get to. Oh, he's saying okay, here we go. The third I shall answer in a more diffuse manner, by taking up in succession the several parts of architecture above distinguished, and rapidly noting the kind of ornament fittest for each. Okay, rapidly. The chapters are going to be like, you don't put leaves on the base of your column. I think he's probably going to tell me. If I had to guess what Ruskin was going to say, I would say, don't put treetop type things at the bottom of your columns. Put tree trunk type decorations on the bottom of your columns. We're trying to be like nature here. What did he say here? Yes, good. He's direct. Okay, he is going to tell me about the tree trunk as an example, I bet. This is the next thing he writes. As I said in chapter 2, he's going to reiterate something I just iterated. When he got to where things should be, I started bringing up nature. So here we go. Here's Ruskin's opinion on nature. Said as clearly as ever, I said in chapter 2 that all noble ornamentation was the expression of man's delight in God's work. Okay, he says it well and he says it clearly, but I'm just going to repeat it one more time. All noble ornamentation is the expression of man's delight in God's work. He continues. This implied, meaning him saying this implied that there was an ignoble ornamentation. So something that is not the opposite of noble. It implies, when he says that all noble ornamentation is expression of man's delight in God, he knows that he's implying that there is an ignoble ornamentation, which was the expression of man's delight in his own. There is such a school that's doing this horrible thing, chiefly degraded classic and Renaissance, in which the ornament is composed of imitations of tilings made by man. What does he mean by tilings? When I hear tilings, I think of like roofs and something, but I don't know what tiling might be a type of decoration, I'm not sure. I think before inquiring what we like, what is he saying? Okay. There is such a school that's a douchebag and making ignoble ornamentation. He says, I think, before inquiring what we like best of God's work, we had better get rid of all this imitation of man's and be quite sure we do not like that. And he italicized that. That's why I italicized that. That was a good opening. So far this chapter, I've been rating every chapter. I'll be right back. I'm not even leaving. Turn the light on. Turn the light on. Turn the light on. Turn the light on. Okay. We're back in business. Alright, I had already read all that. So if I delivered that super well, it's because I'd already read it. Now we're going to get back to the same confused voice of last time. We shall rapidly glance. Okay, we're going to be quick here. We shall rapidly glance then at the material of decoration hence derived. So we're going to quickly look at the bad stuff. And now I cannot, as I before have done. Wait, what was this sentence? See, I told you. And now I cannot, as I before have done respecting construction, convince the reader of one thing being wrong and another right. So, everything in the other chapters where he was teaching me about what he just called construction, this is not stuff about ornamentation, right? This is stuff on like how to build shit. Like, what are these types of lintels? Is the gabled lintel better? Is the flat lintel better? Is the arch lintel better? I guess the arch and the gable aren't lintels. But are those better? See, this has been construction. Now he's going to tell me he is making sure that both he and I know that we know that he can't entirely just like convince us of what's right and what's wrong when we get here. We're done with the stuff that's just like, no, you want the columns to be strong enough to hold things, right? Now, he goes a little bit more in depth, but that's basically the gist of what we had. It was, this is what a column is and what it's supposed to do, and it's good when we can tell that it's strong, and it's kind of bad when we like think it's going to break. It puts fear in us. Ruskin would not like that thing over the Grand Canyon. What's that thing over the Grand Canyon that's like made of glass? Like a glass walkway over the Grand Canyon. He would think that was a... Well, maybe he wouldn't. It's very difficult. He might see it as a beautiful opportunity to feel like a bird. Would he hate the airplane for putting humans where they're not supposed to be, or would he like it because it puts him even more in touch with nature? I don't know, it's hard to know. So I really like that he's just flat out being like, okay, I'm not going to think I'm convincing, like I can completely convince. He put convince in italics. So, I have confessed as much again and again. He has said it again and again. We cannot look back through here. He is covering his ass. He's like, don't forget all the times I told you about this. I am now only to make appeal to him and cross-question him whether he really does like things or not. Oh my god. Let's go. We're done with the tutorial. It only took me like 8 months to get through the tutorial section of this fucking book. I fucking love this book. To cross-question him. What the fuck? I've never had an author cross-question me. Okay, I've read Socrates or Plato, and that guy's questioning everybody, but not like... No, I don't know what that is. Let's not talk about that. That's one of the craziest things. Anyway, if he likes the ornament on the base of the column of the Palace Vendôme, composed of Wellington boots and laced frock coats, I cannot help it. Oh my god, now look, watch this. This is my favorite part of reading Ruskin right now. This is just premium content. Turn this on, transition. Clickety click. What did he say? He's bringing, as soon as it said Wellington, it's like, you know you're fucked. Place Vendôme. Wellington is too British for Ruskin, for it to have the type of architecture he likes. He does not like British architecture. Place Vendôme. Is that in London? Is that in France? Composed of Wellington boots. Place Vendôme, Paris. Famous architecture. What if I add that? Parisian classicism. 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 Okay, now let's look up columns. No, not that one. Fuck. That's gonna skew everything. Nope. We don't want that well, we want this one. Please be high quality. This? No, this can't be it. It has to be it though, because that green thing was there when Ruskin was there. I bet this has changed. This like straight up, it's fucking cinder block ornamentation. And then these lines, Ruskin would hate these. Ruskin would hate these. He'd like these. These look newer than these. Anyway, here's the building, I think. Back to the book. I look at me. I'm remembering to do things. This whole... This is the bee's knees paragraph. Well, I'm going to put this in my Google document. If he likes the ornament on the base of the column of the Place Verdun, composed of Wellington boots and laced frock coats. Maybe I could look up actually Wellington boots. Wait, I need to put that in quotes. Well, I know you can't see this. Wellington boots, column, base, design, type. Okay, it's giving me... Oh my god. Wellington boots, architecture. Dude, I can never spell architecture right. I really need to... A-R-C-H, that's easy. It, archit. And then exer, archit. You think I'll remember that next time I have to type out architecture? Or do you think I won't? What is this? Wellington boots are a type of waterproof boot characterized by their complete... Is he calling that Wellington? Give me that back. Give me zoom. Was that how it was designed? I wonder if it had these lines. Can I look up an old picture of Place Verdun? Old, I know you can't see this. Place Verdun. Oh, okay, we got some old pictures. Let's look at these. This will help us know what to do with Ruskin later. Whoa. That's what it looks like from above? Okay, there's only one of these places. I needed one of the... This one? Oh my god, look at this little fucking picture. And zoom and enhance. There is nothing there. I don't think there's any decoration on that. That's the closest picture we're going to get, and I don't see jack shit. Yes, that's what it looked like. That's what Ruskin saw. That's, I think, the same. Well, now we have windows in all of the arches. Wait a second. Let's look at a... Yes, look at that! Whoa. It used to be an open space under these arches. Look at the difference. Ruskin would hate that, but it's for more space inside. For shops. Like the shops to be bigger, I guess. Or fucking, I don't fucking know. But Ruskin would not like that they're covered up now with windows all over the place. Why? That hurts. I'm in agreement with Ruskin here. Here's one instance of me in agreement with Ruskin. This does not look better than this. And I don't like the bottom of these. And he calls them Wellington boots, and I like that he calls them Wellington boots. And he's correct to call them Wellington boots. I gotta text Amanda. Amanda, I'm texting you. I'm gonna say, don't watch this one. No, don't watch the first Ruskin. I'm doing another one. And it's better already. Alright. I know you're going to laugh when you get that text. Because you're now seeing it. Because you're my only viewer. No, I forgot about my millions and millions of fans. I cannot help it. If they like the Wellington boots, I can't help it. I can only say I differ from him. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, and I like the way I said it. And don't like it. That's how I differ from him. I don't like it. I can only say I differ from him and I don't like it. And if, therefore, I speak dictatorially and say this is base or degraded or ugly, I mean only that I believe men of the longest experience in the matter would either think it so or would be prevented from thinking it so only by some morbid condition of their minds. And his morbid condition of their mind is going to be Renaissance art and architecture. I think he is going to classify Renaissance art and architecture as a morbid condition of the mind that's not their fault. They didn't invent that shit. He's going to point out to people, look at this. Look at this. Look at this book. And I believe that the reader, if he examine himself candidly, will usually agree in my statements. I underlined usually. This paragraph is going on my Google Doc. I need to star this and put it in the Ruskin bucket of of bookmarks. Now I have to Control F. How many times does it say we shall rapidly? He says we shall rapidly twice. Wow, the next one is way down. Actually, it's not that far. He only uses the phrase we shall rapidly twice. I'm going to copy those last two paragraphs. Those were good. The subject of ornament found in man's work may properly fall into 4 heads. Okay? So there are 4 places of origin for where I'm still copying and pasting this. For this sort of ignoble architecture. Interesting. All right. The first is instruments of art. No, wait. Not just instruments of art. The first is instruments of art, agriculture, and war, armor, and dress. The subjects of ignoble ornamentation fall into 4 heads. The first head is very broad. Wow. How are we going to get into this? Art, agriculture, war, armor, and dress. 2, drapery. Wow, just drapery on its own? What the fuck does he mean by drapery? It has the same size classification as art, agriculture, war, armor, and dress all combined. And then there's drapery. Weird. Shipping? So he wouldn't like planes, maybe. Maybe he would not like planes. Because maybe it's part of God's work that only the birds shall experience that. We have to look on it in awe. It's a source of awe for us, should be its primary purpose, not a source of like us trying to copy its behavior as poorly as we can. Which we can't, because we're sitting in a bus that's just in the sky. But would he think a wingsuit is close enough to a flying squirrel? I don't know. He's a weird guy. Shipping. And 4, architecture itself. Okay, here we go. 1. How long does 1 take? Where's the 2? 2. It takes about 1 page. 1 total page. Let's go. Instruments, armor, and dress. The custom... Hold up. The custom of raising trophies on pillars and of dedicating arms in temples appears to have first suggested the idea of employing them as subjects of sculptural ornament. The custom of raising trophies on pillars and dedicating arms, so weapons and stuff, in temples appears to have first suggested the idea of employing them as the subjects of sculptural ornamentation. So when he's saying, before we put trophies and weapons on the walls of temples and churches, he means when he says temples, just places of worship, we didn't used to do that before. But once we started putting trophies on pillars and dedicating weapons in temples, did we start putting them on the walls. Thenceforward, this abuse has been chiefly characteristic of classical architecture, whether true or Renaissance. Oh, that gets a star. That's a key thing that's going to be in the rest of this. Interesting. This abuse has been the chiefly characteristic of classical architecture, whether true classical architecture or Renaissance architecture. Armor is a noble thing in its proper service. I guess you would say it because, like, armadillos, turtles. Armor is a noble thing. In its proper service and subordination to the body, okay? So is an animal's hide. There's a turtle on its back. But a heap of cast skins or of shed armor is alike unworthy of all regard or imitation. Heaps of cast skins, so heavy armor. We owe much true sublimity and more of delightful picturesqueness to the introduction of armor both in painting and sculpture. In poetry it is better still. Homer's undressed Achilles is less grand than his crested and shielded Achilles, though Phidias would rather have had him naked. He put in a joke. Oh my god. I do think Ruskin is gay, but I don't think he knows that he's... This is 1800s, and he had a wife. I don't want to talk about Ruskin's personal stuff, but it's interesting. He made a joke. When he makes jokes, it's clearly, okay, here's a joke. He's been very serious so far. Maybe he'll make more jokes now that he's trying to just talk to me rather than convince me of facts. So the undressed Achilles is less grand than the crested and shielded Achilles in poetry. The Phidias, who, it's not poetry, it's actually there, would rather have him naked. In all medieval paintings, arms, like all other parts of costume, are treated with exquisite care and delight. In medieval paintings, not Renaissance paintings. In the designs of Leonardo, Raphael, and Perugino, the armor sometimes becomes almost too conspicuous from the rich and endless invitation bestowed upon it. Have I got some pictures with... I gotta get rid of, oh my gosh, all this stuff. Palais Verdun. Let's pin my Google Doc and let's pin my text, my online text of this entire book, which you can buy for free, you can read for free. Ruskin. Painting? Painting? This one? Fuck. We'll do one more go. One more. Nope. That wasn't it. Alright, fuck it. We're not going to try to find anything like this. I also like that he calls it shed armor. He called the armor that's unworthy of all regard or imitation shed armor. Let's see. While Titian and Rubens seek in its flash what the Milanese and Perugian sought in its form, sometimes subordinating heroism to the light of the steel, while the great designers wearied themselves in its elaborate fancy. What does that last part mean? I mean, I don't know these people. I mean, I guess I know Leonardo. He mentioned Perugino before, and I looked up a couple pictures. Titian, I also looked up. He mentioned him before. But okay, I think we get the general gist of that. Renaissance art like glorifies the unnaturalness of the armor, while in Renaissance art, like the armor is treated like the person, and the light. He uses that example of the light glistening off the armor. I bet he would think of the light glistening brightly off a piece of armor to be a reflection of God, and God's like part in all of this. It's blinding you. You can almost not see the armor because of the shine of it, but that's the shine of God's Son, not of some man's workshop. But I don't know. Maybe if I got really familiar with these people. But all this labor was given to the living, not the dead armor. Ooh. So in all these things, okay, these maybe are all maybe he likes all these examples. I think he likes these examples, but I'm not sure. It's hard, like, if I looked up and it said they're Renaissance, I could be pretty sure that he doesn't like them. He says all this good labor was given to living armor, not dead armor. To the shell with its he restates living. But all this armor was given to the living, not the dead. It was given to the shell with its animal in it, not the cast shell of the beach. What a line, bro. What a line. But all this labor was given to the living, not the dead armor. To the shell with its animal in it, not the cast shell of the beach. And even so, it was introduced more sparingly by the good sculptors than the good painters. For the former felt, and with justice, that the painter had the power of conquering over prominence of costume by the expression and color of the countenance, and that by the darkness of the eye and glow of the cheek he could always conquer the gloom and flash of the male. But they could hardly, by any boldness or energy of the marble features, conquer the forwardness and conspicuousness of the sharp armorial forms. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't understand jack shit of that part. Armorial mean armor? Armorial meaning having to do with armor? No. Relating to heraldry or heraldic devices. Heraldry, the system in which coats of arms or other armorial bearings are devised, described, and regulated. Oh no, we don't like armorial. Yuckers. Don't let us see that. I'm going to read that one more time but I might just move on from it. Introduced, it was this good type of labor And even so, this labor, it was introduced more sparingly by the good sculptors than by the good painters. The painters really took to armor. For the former, so the sculptors felt that the painter had the power over prominence of costume by the expression and color of the countenance and by the, oh my god. But the sculptor could hardly, by any boldness or energy of the marble features, conquer the forwardness and conspicuous of the sharp armorial forms. Really? What does that mean? Their armed figures were therefore almost always subordinate, their principal figures draped or naked, and their choice of subject was much influenced by this feeling of necessity. But the Renaissance sculptors displayed the love of Camilla for the mere crest and bloom. Plume. Is that a famous painting? Camilla, famous Renaissance, painting. Several notable paintings are associated with the name Camilla. The Renaissance sculptors displayed a love of Camilla. Wait, sculpture. Sculpture? This might be a hard one to find. I misspelled oh! Is that it? Oh, there's a bunch of them that are all similar. Oh, boobies. That is a sexy sculpture. King Metabus? Why do I care about that? Camilla Claudel, the French sculptor. What? She painted this? Or sculpted that? Wait, what? Why is Ruskin talking about this person? It's not even gonna fucking Library of Congress. Way to be unappealing with a website. Who gives a shit? I'm done with this. We gotta move on here. Clickety click. But the Renaissance sculptors displayed the love of a Camilla. I don't know. No, he must not have been talking about that statue. For the mere crest and plume. Paltry and false alike in every feeling of their narrowed minds. Holy fuck. What a killer. Paltry and false alike in every feeling of their narrowed minds, they attached themselves not only to costume without person, but to the pettiest details of the costume itself. They could not describe Achilles, but they could describe his shield. Oh, we're going ham on these bitches now. And we're not talking about walls anymore. A shield like those of dedicated spoil, without a handle, never to be waved in the face of war. Oh, Ruskin hates that. A shield like those of dedicated spoil, without a handle, never to be waved in the face of war. And then we have helmets and lances, banners and swords, sometimes with men to hold them, sometimes without, but always chiseled with a tailor-like love of the chasing or the embroidery. Show helmets of the stage, no Vulcan work on them, no heavy hammer strokes, no Etna fire in the metal of them, nothing but pasteboard crests and high feathers. God damn. And these, we finished like 1 1/3 page, 1 1/4 page. Jesus. These things cast together in disorderly heaps, or grinning vacantly over keystones from one of the leading decorations of Renaissance architecture, and that one of the best, for helmets and lances, however loosely laid, are better than violins and pipes and books of music, which were another of the Palladian and Sansovinian sources of ornament. What the fuck did he just say? He lost me. Palladian and Sansovinian? What the hell? Okay, I'm not going to look that up. Supported by ancient authority, the abuse soon became a matter of pride. And since it was too easy to copy a heap of cast cloths, but difficult to manage an arranged design of human features, the indolence of architects came to the aid of their affection. The indolence of architects putting suits of armor places, and fake shields and fake swords up on the walls. The indolence of architects came to the aid of their affectation. Until, by the moderns, we find the practice carried out to its most interesting results. And, as above noted, a large pair of boots occupying the principal place on the bas-reliefs on the base of the Colonne Vedon, which is that place in Paris we looked at before with the Wellington boots. Damn, this is an 11 out of 10 so far. Holy shit. Got him. Can't argue with that. Can you? So Ruskin would say probably not. Alright. Paragraph break. A less offensive, because singularly grotesque, example of the abuse at its height occurs in the Hôtel des Invalides, where the dormer windows are suits of armor down to the bottom of the corselet, crowned by the helmet, and with the window in the middle of the breast. What the fuck is he talking about? I gotta see if I can find what that is. No, shit. Did I switch over? Nope. Clickety click. Hotel, what did he say? Hotel de in, I should capitalize the H. Just cuz. No, you bastard. Invalides. Okay, I guess there it is. Okay, so this is... Oh my god, this picture is so fucking tiny. There it is. Why? Come on with all this crap. Alright, that's blurry, but whatever. I'm not clicking it. I need the columns. Wait, is that it? Look for another one. Columns? Oh, an interior? What did he call them? Windows? Were the dormer windows. I'm going to put dormer windows. Oh! Oh! That is what he's talking about right there. Oh. Yo. Just dox my email? Oh my god. Amanda's gonna email me? Oh, look at that thing. Oh my good god in hell. No, just open the image. The new place, you bastard. No, he hates this. He hates this as hell, dude. He hates the heck out of this. Oh, lordy Lou. And you know what? I also hate it. Why do they have a cannon hole in their chest? Is that, what? They don't have what? Alright, let's read this description of these windows one more time. A less offensive, because singularly grotesque, example of the abuse So he thinks these are less offensive than the columns of the Place Vendôme with the Wellington boots. He finds that more offensive than this. He says these are less offensive because they are so grotesque. So it's like they're so absurd. They're almost comical. A less offensive because singularly grotesque example of the abuse at its height occurs in the Hotel des Invalides. That's an accent. Where the dormer windows are suits of armor down to the bottom of the corselet, crowned by the helmet and with the window in the middle of the breast. He's like ridiculing this because they also don't have a face. They can't figure out how to do face anymore. Renaissance art and architecture didn't care about it. This was easy shit. The human face is much harder to draw than a suit of armor. Instruments of agriculture and the arts are of less frequent occurrence. Than, I guess, armor and shit. Except, he says, in hieroglyphics and other work, where they are not employed as ornaments. In hieroglyphics, they're employed as words. Oh, he just was going to say what I just said. Where they are not employed as ornaments, but represented for the sake of accurate knowledge or as symbols, which is all a word is. Wherever they have purpose of this kind, like in hieroglyphics, they are, of course, perfectly right. Good. But they are then part of the building's conversation. Oh my God, he so agrees with me. Words. Part of the building's conversation. Not conducive to its beauty. The French have managed, with great dexterity, the representation of the machinery for the elevation of their Luxor obelisk, now sculptured on its base. Interesting. Hold up here. The Luxor... Wait. I gotta put this in my Ruskin... Wait. Blogger. Ruskin. The Luxor... What is it? Luxor... obelisk in France. Base of images, bitch. What is this? That's the one we're talking about, right? This is why he mentioned hieroglyphics. It's like a plaque. Here lies this thing. What is this shit? What did he call this? Is this like the boat that got it there and the crane that picked it up? Are you serious? This is how we stole this piece of Egyptian architecture? We sculpted in to this stolen piece of Egyptian architecture. We sculpted in how we did it because that's how badass we are. Look at the boat we use. Look at the crane. Classic European bullshit. But it would not be in this pristine of a condition above. Wait. Is this the actual obelisk and this is something added on? Is that the case? Maybe that's it. Maybe the thing on top is the actual obelisk they pulled. Wow, great video quality here. Maybe this is the obelisk they took and this is probably bullshit. So they didn't carve it onto the Egyptian. The Egyptians wouldn't have left this big ass part blank and it wouldn't have been squared. It wouldn't be there at all. The obelisk comes out of the dirt, asshole. We don't put it on we put a trophy, the thing we stole, we raised it up even higher so none of you fuckers could even touch it. Even though it's made out of stone. The Egyptians put it out there. Fucking French. The French have managed with great dexterity the representation of the machinery for the elevation of their Luxor obelisk, now sculptured on its base. Which is bad. Or is that good? I think he would say that's bad. Because that's decoration in man's delight in man. Or in man's work. God doesn't need a tower. And he doesn't make a sculpture of a tower. Well, God has towers. We built them. But it's our work through God. Or God's work through... Oh, maybe. I don't know. This does look... And it's the only part you can really... Whatever. Look at this nice thing we stole. We saved from the Egyptian ruffians. I bet that's how the French thought they were doing. Now we're on to drapery. We're done with instruments, armor, and dress. Drapery. Oh my gosh. I know this man doesn't like this kind of thing. This is going to be a funny little section. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Click. Now we're on to drapery. I have already spoken of the error of introducing drapery as such for ornamentation in his other book, Seven Lamps, which I have read. I may here note a curious instance of the abuse in the Church of the Jesuit at Venice. In parentheses, he adds, Renaissance. He's bringing up Venice, and he's saying, don't worry, guys. It's Renaissance, so you know it sucks. On first entering, you suppose that the church, being in a poor quarter of the city, has been somewhat meanly decorated by heavy green and white curtains of an ordinary upholsterer's pattern. On looking closer, they are discovered to be of marble, with the green pattern inlaid. The drapery is made of marble? Is that what he just said? Clickety click. Come on. Okay. Church of the Jesuiti at Venice. So curse the Church of the Jesuits now. Because it's giving me the Americanized name of the church. What is this? Is this it? God damn it. It's opening this mini version. This? Oh my god, the green and white. Oh, it does look like a carpet. Yo. That's hilarious. Look at that. Oh my god. That looks like the blanket I have right now. Oh my god. That's hilarious. Let's see this. Oh my gosh. A curious instance, he calls this. In the Church of the Jesuiti at Venice. On first entering, you suppose that the church, being in a poor quarter of the city, has been somewhat meanly decorated by heavy green and white curtains of an ordinary upholsterer's pattern. This. On closer look, they are discovered to be of marble. This is what he calls drapery. with the green pattern inlaid. Another remarkable instance is in a piece of not altogether unworthy, what's he saying here? Of unworthy architecture at Paris, Rue Rivoli. Go away. Go away. This goes into the Ruskin bucket. What? Paris? Paris building quotes Rue Rivoli. Columns. Can I add columns? Oh, look, look, look. Rue de Rivoli. The Rue de Rivoli. There's nothing in that. Is that going to be the whole column? Fucking... They're blank. Where the columns are supposed to be decorated with images of handkerchiefs tied in a stout knot round the middle of them. What? That's not in there. That was not in that picture. What's he talking about? Maybe this picture? Go. There's no decoration on those. It's Wellington boots, but square. Dude, I'm gonna start calling things. What is this background? What the flying fuck? Ruskin would be so pissed by this. He'd be so mad by this. He would laugh that the lanterns are actually blocking more light. But he would like shadows. But what is this like? He wouldn't like this. And he wouldn't like this. He'd hate this. This like matte image. It's flat. You can see the shadow of the lamp on it. What is going on with this thing? Look, it goes all the way down. Oh, what a pleasant stroll through this nice colonnade. What the flying fuck? Oh my word. Put that in the fucking bucket. Now, come on. Allow, I don't care. This is an old ass picture. You can't see it because of these fucking sandbags. Wait. Here? That's blank, bro. What is that, a barrel? Wow. Two fucking assholes there. Were the columns... I don't know. I'm not going to find these columns. But he doesn't like that the decoration is images of handkerchiefs. This shrewd invention bids fair to become a new order. Multitudes of massy curtains and various upholstery, more or less in imitation of that of the drawing room, are carved and gilt in wood or stone. About the altars and other theatrical portions of Romanist churches. Oh my goodness. We don't like that. We no likey. Where's that one? Oh my god. But from these coarse and senseless vulgarities, we may well turn, in all haste, to note with respect as well as regret one of the errors of the great school of Niccolo Pisano, an error so full of feeling as to be sometimes all but redeemed and altogether forgiven. So Niccolo Pisano made some sort of mistake. One of the great errors, or one of the errors of the great school. We note it with respect and regret. But the error is so full of feeling and passion that it redeems itself and is altogether forgiven. Well, he said sometimes all but redeemed. I like that because that's how I feel about like style in general. Like if I see you and like you're making a choice about what you're wearing, or something stands in, this is like really noticeable, I'm like, nice, you got style. I don't care like what if I think the style looks dumb or anything like that. If you're making a choice, that's good. So it's redeemed by so full of feeling. An error so full of feeling as to be sometimes all but redeemed, and altogether forgiven. The sculpture, namely of curtains round the recumbent statues of pontombs. He did show me a picture of a tomb earlier that had sort of like curtains drawn around it on like behind the dead body and like to the sides. It was like a dead body on a bed. It was like one of those. Curtains which angles are represented as withdrawing, to gaze upon the faces of those who are at rest. So Ruskin understands. He hates drapery. Well, he doesn't hate drapery. He hates stone and wood drapery. I tell you, this guy is out of his mind. Oh god, this chapter is way too long. I'm not finishing this chapter today. My throat already hurts. That's too many pages. That's the longest chapter so far. For some time, the idea was simply and slightly expressed, and though there was always a painfulness in finding the shafts of stone, which were felt to be the real supporters of the canopy, represented as a yielding tapestry of drapery. It's dishonest, yet the beauty of the angelic figures and the tenderness of the thought disarmed all animadversion. Animadversion. I've never seen that word in my life. Clickety click clack. Where is it? Animadversion. Disarmed all animadversion. So the curtains, Ruskin would have liked for there to be no curtains. If Ruskin could go back in time and stop him from putting curtains on there, he would. And Ruskin would feel like he would be helping Renaissance architecture not make the mistake of drapery as decoration. As like sculpted part of the decoration. I'm going to underline disarmed all animadversion. But the scholars of Pisani, as usual, caricatured when they were unable to invent, and the quiet curtained canopy became a huge marble tent with a pole in the center of it. He really doesn't like these people. The scholars of Pisani, as usual, caricatured when they were unable to invent. That is a thing people complain about a lot with modern art and entertainment and stuff. You can't invent, so you caricature. Pisani bad. And the quiet, curtained canopy became a huge marble tent with a pole in the center of it. Thus vulgarized, the idea itself soon disappeared. To make room for urns torches, and weepers, and the other modern paraphernalia of the churchyard. I don't know what a weeper is, but whatever. Okay, let's stop there. I want to stop. We finished drapery. We're moving on to shipping now. Well, shipping's short. Hold on, shipping is short. Oh, architecture itself is huge. Architecture itself is going ham. Shells, forms of fire, birds. Oh my god. Okay, we'll finish shipping. We'll finish the first three and I'll do this one later. 3. Shipping. I have allowed this kind of subject to form a separate head, owing to the importance of rostra in Roman decoration, and to the continual occurrence of naval subjects in modern monumental bas relief. Bas relief. I don't know what that means. What is a rostra exactly? Google. Whoops, not Spotify. I don't want to open that. Let's see. Yeah, get this drapery out of my face. No, wait. It's not that he dislikes drapery. He dislikes drapery being like carved out of stone. And I understand that. I can definitely understand being against that. Ostra. What is it? Platform for public speaking. Okay. I have allowed this kind of subject to form a separate head, owing to the importance of rostra in Roman decoration. Interesting that he... Why does that have to do with shipping? Ugh. My leg's getting tired. We gotta finish shipping quick. And to the continual occurrence of naval subjects in modern monumental bas relief. Mr. Ferguson says, who is Mr. Ferguson? Mr. Ferguson says, somewhat doubtfully, that he perceives a kind of beauty. He puts kind of beauty in quotes. Mr. Ferguson says, somewhat doubtfully, that he perceives a kind of beauty in a ship. I say, without any manner of doubt, that a ship is one of the loveliest things man ever made, and one of the noblest. Okay, so maybe he would like an airplane. Maybe. I say. So he's saying that Mr. Ferguson didn't seem very confident when he said that ships can be beautiful. Ruskin's like, I'm not a little bitch. I say without any manner of doubt that a ship is one of the loveliest things man ever made, and one of the noblest. Nor do I know any lines out of divine work so lovely as those of the head of a ship. He puts here, out of divine work. Nor do I know any lines outside of God's nature so lovely as those of the head of a ship, or even as the sweep of the timbers of a small boat. Not a race boat, a mere floating chisel. No, the race boat is a mere floating chisel. Nor do I know any lines out of divine work so lovely as those of the head of a ship, or even as the sweep of the timbers of a small boat. Not a race boat, a mere floating chisel, but a broad, strong sea boat, able to breast a wave and break it. And yet, with all this beauty, ships cannot be made subjects of sculpture. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, sure, bro. No one pauses in particular delight beneath the pediments of the Admiralty, nor does scenery of shipping ever become prominent in bas relief without destroying it. Witness the base of the Nelson pillar. It may be, and must be sometimes, introduced in severe subordination to the figure subject, but just enough to indicate the scene. sketched in the lightest lines on the background, never with any attempt at realization, never with any equality to the force of the figures, unless the whole purpose of the subject be picturesque. I shall explain this exception presently in speaking of imitative architecture. What the fuck is he talking about? Interesting, like... The what? The Nelson pillar. Pillar. Base of... There's the Nelson pillar. There. Is that shipping? It is. Interesting. What's on the other sides? The base. Plaque. Admiral Horatio Nelson's column. That's why it's all boat shit. Got all this boat shit. Hey, we got a bunch of boat shit over here. Okay, I guess I'm never going to see the rest of it, you bastards. It's the same one. Why? Is that the only good one? That's the same one. That's a different one. Wow. Hold up a second. This picture is ginormous. Look at this. I got all four in high def. Oh my gosh, this is... This is going to take forever to load. This is the most high-def picture I've ever found. Oh, let's let it load for a second. So he really doesn't like anything with shipping to be used in ornamentation. Is that again because of its... The point of a boat is to be free on the water? I mean, a point of a drapery is to be light and thin and cheap and simple to decorate with and maneuverable. And when you turn stone into drapery, that's bad to Ruskin. Does he feel the same way about ships? When you turn like ship and shipping into drapery, it's bad because it's supposed to be movement focused? Is this ever going to load? This is not going to load. Whatever, we don't care. There it is. It's the loading screen. It's the loading screen. I can't believe this cartoon. It's just all the loading screen. Is that him? Wow. That's a sexy back, bro. That's bad. That guy is dead. Poor St. Vincent died of a wooden thing stabbing just through the chest in 1797. Poor him. Oh, look at these little double faces. There's my man, Horatio. Look how British he is. His Wellington boots. Yuck. Let's get out of this. I don't like that. But I don't know. Whatever. He's going to have his... He doesn't like shipping. Unless the whole purpose be to be picturesque. Here's an example. There is one piece of a ship's fittings, however, which may be thought to have obtained acceptance as a constant element of architectural ornament. The cable. Weird. It is not, however, the cable itself, but its abstract form, a group of twisted lines, which a cable only exhibits in common with many natural objects, which is indeed beautiful as an ornament. Okay, here we go. There is one piece of a ship's fitting which is good. The cable. It's not the cable itself that's good, but it's the cable's abstract form, which is a group of twisted lines. And a group of twisted lines is something that can be seen with many natural objects, i.e., of natural objects, what he means is God's divine work, which is indeed beautiful as an ornament. Make the resemblance complete. Give to the stone the threads and character of the cable, and you may perhaps regard the sculpture with curiosity, but never more with admiration. Interesting. So cables can be understood, like stone cables. This is a very interesting section here. I think I'm right about why he doesn't want boats. Because they're supposed to be like... They live on God's great motion place, bro. The water. You're putting them in stone. You're trapping them and keeping from their purpose. But if you decorate the cable enough to show that it has threads like a rope, you can at least be okay with it, but never more with admiration. Consider the effect of the base of the statue of King William IV at the end of the London Bridge. This is the last thing we're going to do. How long did it take? An hour and 16 minutes? And we're not even done. King, blah, blah, blah. King William the Fourth. Statue at the end of the London Bridge. There he is. Clickety-doo-dah. Gimme. Just give me the picture. Okay, there he is. I don't see any decoration. Is that supposed to be words? Zoom back in. Thank you. Look at his kneecaps. This guy is naked. Where's his junk, bro? Let me see his junk. I want to see it. Born, died. That's it. And what is that? A plaque? These are out of alignment. That top one is. What does he say about this? But never more. Consider the effect of the base of the statue of King William IV at the end of the London Bridge. Is this at the end of the London Bridge? I don't see any cable. I do see drapery. I don't know if this is the right thing, though. It seems pretty clear. Is that the bridge? William Wallace? King William IV at London Bridge. Wait, like the actual king? That's the same one we already saw. That Ruskin would hate ships in a bottle. Wow, he'd really hate that. Is this one? William IV statue. I don't see any cables. And I don't think this picture goes... I don't know, there's kids just screaming out there. I don't know. Okay, I think that's the best we can get. I don't see any cables on him, so whatever. I don't know what he's saying. Maybe it's a different one. And then he moves on to architecture itself. We are not continuing there, and I'm going to change pen colors. Next up, section 4, architecture itself. That was a good section. Now, I can't rate it yet. I'm not going to start rating sections of chapters. But so far, that was an 11 out of 10. 2.5 pages roughly, in an hour and 20 minutes. That's about that's about on par with my pace with this book. See you next time.